Hey there, everyone. I am Dr. Alyssa Wright, and welcome to the Trimester Bubble. I'm a chiropractor and dynamic body balancing facilitator at Body and Balance Chiropractic. We support mamas, mamas-to-be, and babies by helping them live their best lives. Here in the podcast, our goal is to bring you educational content for the pregnancy journey and beyond. So we have guest specialists who join us, and we just want to support you during this time. We know that it can be confusing and lonely being a mom, being a parent, and all of us here at the Trimester Bubble want to support you on your journey that is mamahood and raising little ones. If you like what you hear, we love reviews. Feel free to comment, share what you thought, and anything you'd like us to bring to you. So today we have a special guest, Jessica Van Antwerp. Be sure to stick around to the end. She gives away a phenomenal gift for all of our listeners. So stay tuned to hear all about that. Jessica Van Antwerp has been in the health and wellness industry for over 14 years as a massage therapist, a wellness coach, and a retreat leader. She loves the puzzle that is the human body and the mind, body, spirit trio by helping people get to the root cause of their issues. Her approach to coaching centers around giving the body the resources it needs to heal itself, be it through lifestyle, movement, dietary adjustments, or through small, sustainable changes. And her approach to bodywork is all about working with the nervous system to unleash the body's natural capacity to heal itself. Let's get chatting with Jessica. So welcome everybody to the Trimester Bubble. I am Dr. Alyssa, and I'm here today with Dr. Catherine and our special guest, Jessica Van Antwerp. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Alyssa. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we're really excited. And by excited, I mean this time of year brings up some unique feelings for people. Some of those top feelings tend to be stress, overwhelm, anxiety, along with the joy and the happiness and the excitement of the holiday season. And Jessica is a Qigong instructor and massage therapist and all types of wellness things. And we wanted to have her on to kind of talk about how to manage all of these feelings that happen around this holiday season. So I know that Jessica's a massage therapist, and we were chatting right before we turned on the record about things that are coming up in our practices right now. What are some things that your clients have been sharing with you around this time of year?
Yeah, there are definitely feelings of anxiety around. A lot of times, during the holidays, we get together with family and maybe we don't see those members of our family very often. I know for me, it's the only time of year I see my family members. And so sometimes there's some anxiety around just old patterns and old relationships, maybe from your childhood and, the way that people treated you when you were growing up, and maybe that was never really resolved as an adult. Or if, like, for example, in my life, I've done a lot of personal work and self-development, but the members of my family have not necessarily done that. So that can bring up a lot of anxiety around, even for me, like holding my center, keeping my center, and behaving in a way that is in alignment with who I know I am, instead of slipping back into old habits and patterns around maybe this is the way that I acted when I was a child, because all of this stuff is coming up. So there's that piece. Also potentially fear of travel, planes, trains, automobiles. There's going to be a lot of people moving across the country in various directions over the holiday season. And I know, for example, my husband has a fear of flying that he's definitely working on and has made progress on, but particularly when it comes to small planes, it can be really intense. He was in a flight from Miami to New York City where he was in a hurricane, and so that kind of traumatized him. And so anyway, that's where some of that anxiety comes up. And then, of course, just the endless list of to-dos. I'm hosting this Thanksgiving dinner for 13 people, and I have to go to the store and I have to prep all these different dishes. And how do I manage my time to make all that happen without feeling really stressed? And then And then even, after the Thanksgiving holiday, then you start to do the ramp up to Christmas, and I'm going to decorate my house, and then I'm going to make all these cookies, and then I'm going to buy all these presents, and then I have to wrap the presents, and then also host a Christmas feast for X number of people with all the food and all the trimmings. And so it's just a lot at a seeming relentless pace. So it's understandable if there's stress, anxiety, feelings of ungroundedness, and also feelings of, kind of a chaotic mind. Like, I don't even know where to begin because there's so much to do. So those are some of the things.
Absolutely. I can relate to a lot of what you're saying. And for me, it's the financials of traveling to see family, the financials of gifts, and can definitely put a lot of stress on myself, be like, this has to be perfect. So you definitely mentioned with yourself, just grounding yourself. Do you have any other recommendations for your clients or anyone out there to just kind of decrease the stress of this season?
Yeah, absolutely. So many ways to decrease the stress. I'm a massage therapist, so the first thing that I'll say is go get a massage or do something else that takes some time for yourself, whether it be to meditate, to do Qigong, which we can dive into more here in a second. I'm sure a lot of people don't know what Qigong is. Find a steam room, maybe at your gym, at a local spa, take a walk in nature. All of these things help kind of bring us back down into the present moment, noticing, the trees outside the window, even just taking 3 deep breaths very mindfully, noticing the breath as it goes into your body, potentially the temperature of the air, the texture of your breath. These kinds of subtle details will bring you into the present moment and help calm your mind to help you be more efficient with your time, and maybe even get clarity around priorities and what comes first. So.
And just for inclusion's sake, we've been saying the word grounding a lot. What does that mean?
Yeah, good question. Because I do know that there are a lot of words that are sort of thrown around in the whole health and wellness field, but from a scientific perspective, grounding is actually connecting with the earth. Like, there's this concept of grounding within electrical work, right? You have we have a 3-pronged here in the US electrical outlet, and not all devices use that 3rd prong, but that 3rd prong is a ground. And there is literally, outside of the building, the home, whatever thing that is wired to this electrical current, there is literally a rod that goes down into the ground. And what that is meant to do is disperse any electrical activity, any excess electrical activity that comes through the system. So like a lightning strike, for example, ideally that lightning strike would get dispersed through that grounding rod. So if we take that concept and then apply it to the human body, we can understand that it's also the concept of us connecting to the ground. And there is a whole practice. There's a book called Grounding or Earthing. I think it's called Earthing, but it's the practice of taking off your shoes and your socks and going outside barefoot and putting your feet on the ground. And what that does is actually helps remove some of the electrical charge from the body, whether it's negative ions or positive ions. I can never remember because I think it's counterintuitive. Like, it seems like positive would be good. Do you know?
I want to say positive is
the bad ones, right?
The bad ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So our body accumulates positive ions. Let's go with the positive or the bad, even though, again, that's counterintuitive. Our body accumulates positive ions through exposure to electronic devices, like a laptop, like your cell phone, a tablet, any kinds of all these like waves flying through the air around us that we can't even see, microwaves and radio waves and Bluetooth and, all of these Wi-Fi. So your body's accumulating these positive ions, and that can lead to inflammation in the body. It can help fuel disease processes in the body. So getting rid of these positive ions actually helps with the overall health of the system. And we do that through grounding, through going outside with bare feet and sticking your feet on the dirt. and feel it. And even with that practice, you can feel the whole system, the whole nervous system start to downregulate. You feel like you can breathe more deeply. You feel, again, kind of a decrease in that activity in the mind, a decrease in anxiety, more calmness, more centeredness, more presence. Now in the winter, like in Colorado where we are, maybe not a really appealing practice to go outside and stick your feet on the earth, especially if there's snow on the ground. So there are grounding tools that you can purchase, whether it be, I have a grounding mat underneath my desk to help kind of pull these positive ions out of my body while I'm sitting here in front of the computer. So I can just like input a positive ions, but then it's going down through this grounding mat into the earth. There are also grounding sheets that you can sleep on that are said to really increase the quality and depth of your sleep, all sorts of grounding devices. So, you know, just Google it and you can find ways to help you ground through technology.
Yeah. And I love, I always think of it like, you know, when we're little and we're learning about positives and negatives and we have the magnets and we're putting them together. And when it's a positive and positive, they don't. And then you flip it around and then they stick the positive to negative. Whenever I'm doing grounding, earthing practices, that's what I like imagine as the earth is this big magnet sucking out everything that's not serving us and our health anymore. So I always like that visual. It helps me get out of my head and just really imagine what's happening in the rest of my body.
Yeah. And you can almost visualize like the drain, kind of like everything being pulled down and out.
Yeah. So that's I like having a lot of visualizations. It keeps me focused on what I'm doing. Otherwise I'm off on my next event, scurrying right along.
Me too. Yeah.
So you had mentioned the word Qigong, which is, I am excited to hear about because I know very, very little about it.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah. As long as we've known each other. That surprises me, but yeah. Well, let me give you my spiel. So yeah, most people are familiar with Qigong without really knowing that they're familiar with Qigong. So Tai Chi is the most famous, if you will, type of Qigong. And a lot of people don't even know that it is a type of Qigong. But just like yoga, where you have all the different kinds of yoga, Hatha, Vinyasa, restorative, gentle, you know, all of these different kind of subsections of the yogic discipline, the same is true for Qigong. And Qigong is, I would compare it to yoga also insofar as it's the meditative and movement practice of East Asia. So the Chinese, it's within the Chinese medical milieu as opposed to yoga being in the Ayurvedic discipline. And so those two, Ayurveda and Chinese medicine, are like the twin pillars, the oldest medical models in the world. And so both of them have this concept of movement for health, meditation for health. And so Qigong is the discipline within the Chinese medical model that is feeds or fulfills this, what would you call it? Like, not requirement, but principle. And Qigong is basically moving meditation. So if you look at the translation of the two words, Qi and Gong, Qi means life force or energy, and Gong can be translated as cultivation or exchange. So when you put those two together, you're cultivating life force or exchanging energy with the universe around you. And the underlying philosophy behind this practice is that the human body, and all living beings for that matter, are self-regulating organisms. That is, they have the capacity to heal themselves with the proper inputs. So if we are calling in fresh energy from the universe, then we're giving our bodies this resource to run all of those processes that are needed to heal, whether it's, you know, healing the cut on your finger that you sustained making Thanksgiving dinner, or whether it's healing kind of more long-term patterns that are happening, whether it be in digestion or immunity or these things that kind of lead to these chronic diseases. So giving your body resources through a number of different outlets, diet and exercise are two of the most prevalent, of course, that are talked about in the health and wellness realm, but relaxation, dealing with stress, is one that I think is up and coming in terms of the conversation. We're hearing a lot more about sleep and the quality of sleep and the importance of good quality sleep, and that's also really good. But if you go from really deep sleep to this hyperactive state of fight or flight, your nervous system is just on hypervigilance, then it changes the function of the systems of your body. And I'm kind of digressing here from the topic of Qigong, but I'll get back to it. I'll loop it back. So when we're locked in this state of fight or flight, again, the processes of the body actually change. And this comes from kind of our ancestors who lived on the prairie. So we go back to paleo times, before electricity, before the internet, even before cities. And our tribal ancestors, their threats were like saber-toothed tigers and I don't know, other big creatures of prey, right? So if you imagine you're sitting around the fire with your tribe, you're just relaxing, having a good time, and then all of a sudden you hear something that sounds unnatural, right? Like it was created by some creature and you don't know what it is. And so all of a sudden your nervous system ramps up and your vision changes so that you can see far away. You can see an approaching predator on the horizon. So no longer can our eyes focus close up. The blood in our bodies goes from the core out to the limbs. So you can run away from, whatever approaching threat. The systems of the body are no longer focused on healing that cut, on healing anything, because you might not survive the next 10 minutes. So all of the systems of the body are focused on just survival. And when you, through practices such as Qigong or grounding or meditation, can downregulate your nervous system and bring it into the parasympathetic nervous system activation, or what we call rest and digest, then your blood can return to the core, focus on digesting the vitamins and minerals from the food that you ate to, again, fuel these processes of your body. Your vision changes, everything in your body softens. Your body can go back to these long-term healing processes. So the nervous system, I think, is going to be the next kind of frontier in modern medicine that we explore in terms of learning how to deal with stress, not only on a day-to-day basis, but over the long term. And that's the beauty of these practices like Qigong and meditation, is they have a cumulative effect. So, and that's why they're all called practices, because there's no game. I guess the game is life, right? Where you go and put these practices into play. It's like, how well am I doing in my practice so that the effects of this practice are then emanating out into my day-to-day life and emanating out to touch everyone around me and to influence me in those times of heightened stress. So in those times of anxiety around all the things that I have to do with the holidays, the times of anxiety around, seeing these family members that I may have some unresolved, wounds from, how well can I access this pool of energy, this pool of calmness and groundedness to make my relationships better, because I have become calmer. I've learned to let things go. I've learned to just love.
Yeah.
Was that I feel like that was a big digression from Qigong, but that's the effect. That's the why, right? And the what and the how you get there, I feel like, is less important than the why do this. And when you can improve the relationships of your life and you improve your whole perception of all of the things that are happening to you, I feel like that's magic. It's really, it's really unbelievable.
Yeah, that's what it all comes down to. You're talking to two chiropractors. We love us some nervous system talk.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I would say, I don't know, maybe 90% plus of all of our patients talk about having some kind of anxiety or trouble sleeping and just like trouble settling down after work, school. So yeah, having tools like Qigong to implement in their life just to get centered and work on their core and their relationships, and can have great effects on their entire life.
Yeah. And I'd say most importantly too, one thing that I've been focusing on recently in my practice is my relationship to myself. you know, because Qigong is about connecting with the universe and calling in this energy that, I mean, this energy moves the planets in their orbits. And if this energy can move a planet in space, then what effect can it have on my body? But, and I feel like, so the relationship to self sort of gets lost in that broader, expansive relationship that we're cultivating in the practice, but to also be cultivating the relationship to the infinite part of oneself, the part of oneself that exists beyond this body, the part of the self that doesn't change as the body ages and we look into the mirror and we all of a sudden see, you know, saggy eyelids and wrinkles around our eyes and our, you know, maybe our chin is sagging and we just get older, but the spirit feels the same age. And so that's why sometimes you look in the mirror and you're sort of like, wait, what's happening? That's the part of yourself, the ageless part of yourself, that is so important to connect with, like your own essence, the essence that cannot be touched by external influences, right? The essence that can't be hurt by anyone. This is like the prenatal essence. And so this is the, you know, kind of perfect segue back into, I know y'all's specialty of working with pregnant women and babies and, you know, the soul that is coming into life through the womb that is growing inside this woman's body. This is the part of ourselves that is essential to maintain contact with. Again, for the improvement of our relationships to others and our ability to handle stress during these times, is knowing that there is some part of us that is untouchable, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a great way of putting it. We always hear, you know, this time of year, and this falls into that part of the self-care. And so much of self-care is doing.
Right.
Go do this, go do that, versus connecting.
Right.
So it's a really nice reminder that part of self-care is connecting
to
yourself.
Yeah. And I'm guilty of this also. And I have so many students who have told me, like, I just can't sit down and do nothing. I can't sit down and meditate. I can't do this. I can't do this. And so I would say that it does help to have a guide, have a teacher, do a guided meditation. So instead of just sitting there and kind of stewing in your own thoughts, like trying to meditate, and then your mind is going like, this isn't working. Am I meditating? I'm not meditating. I'm thinking. Like there's all these thoughts going through my mind.
And then you get an old like advertisement come in, like the Downey episode from the 90s pops into your head and you're like, what is happening?
Yeah. But if you can sit through that and deal with it, then more power to you, because that will start to settle, and kind of like ripples in a pond, those thoughts and feelings will start to emanate farther and farther away from you and help you come back to a place of peace and quiet, finding quiet in your head and in your mind. But again, if that is too difficult, and I understand, I mean, I'm a seasoned practitioner, and sometimes some days I can't get there. But I do the practice and I set aside the time anyway. And not every day is going to be, you know, the most amazing transcendental experience I've ever had. But again, that's why it's called a practice. So having a guide, having a teacher, someone to help you get there is very beneficial. And also, if you do need to have someone, I mean, even the doing could be like going to get a massage. I'm doing something, but then while you're there, you are forced to kind of lay there and do nothing and receive. And that I think is a lot of what people are lacking in their lives too, is receiving. And even opening themselves. Just because you go lay on a massage table doesn't mean that you're open to receive either. Let's make that distinction clear too, right? You could still be racing in your mind, thinking about all the things that you have to do while someone is like, you know, rubbing your body. So using that time to meditate, to consciously slow down, will increase the effect of the body work that's being done. So I'd say there's no right way to do self-care. There's no prescription that's going to work for everyone. So you have to find, it's exploration. You have to find what works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like looking at our notes of all the things we talked about. I was like, where do we go now? I have so many other questions.
Well, it's also interrelated, but it's not sequential. You know what I mean? It's like, it's hard. It's definitely the web that has many different avenues.
Yep. Yeah. Everything rolls back to stress. And
Mhm.
that's why we wanted to have you on, was to look at stress through a different lens.
Mm.
And so we have Qigong, we have meditation, we have grounding, and those are just little snippets of things that we can do to help manage stress. And, what are your takes on why managing stress is even important?
I mean, again, it goes back to the health piece, the overall health of the body, which I talked about a little bit before. The processes in your body change when you're in a state of heightened stress, and it has a detrimental effect on your health. I mean, stress is on the list of contributing factors to all major diseases in the world. And as a little personal anecdote, my stepmom, who is a nurse practitioner, so steeped in Western medicine, has just finished her last round of chemo last month for a recurrence of cancer. So this is the second time she's had cancer. And we are all convinced, she even, and my dad also, who has been, I think, the last one on board with my sort of like health and wellness alternative lifestyle thing. We are all convinced 100% that the stress of her job and the stress in her life is what gave her cancer. And had the circumstances been different, had she had different stress coping mechanisms in place, she would not have gotten cancer either time. And that's not the only, I mean, I've heard stories from other Western medical practitioners who have the same viewpoint in terms of stress being a contributing factor. One of my clients told me last week, her friend who was a nurse had breast cancer and attributed that to stress. And so we're starting to hear more and more about the detrimental effects of stress and being locked in this fight or flight nervous system activation. Where in the modern world, the threat isn't a saber-toothed tiger, hunting you from the horizon, but rather your boss sort of breathing down your neck for a deadline at work, or the time crunch of like getting to work on time. Like, I'm running late, I have a million things to do. I have kids to get ready and kids to get to school and lunches to make, and then not to mention my own stuff, So if you want to be healthy, if you want to prevent long-term disease, then this is the best thing that you can do for yourself. I don't care if you are taking every supplement in the world and vegan and eating, a really clean diet. If you're in a state of stress and heightened nervous system activation, you are not absorbing the vitamins and minerals from all the supplements you're taking and your food. Your body is not healing itself from the inside out. So it doesn't matter how many supplements you take if you're stressed out. The best thing that you can do to then increase the effect of the supplements and the diet and the movement, the best thing that you can do for your own health is manage your stress. Find some way to do it, whether it's something that we've talked about here on the show today, whether it's something else entirely, whether you like to paint or dance or have a hot cup of tea in front of a fire, whatever it may be, whatever helps you be able to take a deep breath and a large sigh of relief of like, oh, wow, here I am. That's the best thing that you can do for your health.
Yep.
Yep. I love that. Everything you just said.
Thank you.
So at the end of every interview, we like to ask everyone a question. And Dr. Catherine, you want to take the last question away?
Of course. So Jessica, what would you say the seed of health that you want to plant with our listeners is?
I would just like to say to everyone that's listening that you are more powerful than you know. Don't farm out your health and your health care to other people and have them tell you what's best for you. There are so many tools and resources that are available, and with the, the prevalence of the internet and TikTok and YouTube, and there's so much information out there that will help you increase the health of your body, of your mind, of your spirit. And you have more control than you know, more influence than you know. So I would just like to encourage each and every one of you to explore that and take your health back into your own hands.
Yes. I love that. That's something that we preach to, of, we are doctors. We know what we know, but at the end of the day, you know your body. So
Right.
find those things that in your heart of hearts are going to help you.
Right. And, I'm a massage therapist, and so I am part of people's healthcare regimen. But there's only so much that I can do in my 1 hour or 90 minutes with people. And then they go out into their lives and they have all the other hours of all the other days of all the other weeks and potentially months before they come back. And so all of that stuff has way more influence than I do in my short amount of time that I spend with a person.
Yep.
Yep. So
if our listeners want to learn more about Qigong.
Yeah, good question. I have actually an Intro to Qigong online course. It's a self-guided 5-part series that's available on I also run wellness retreats. And so it's available on my wellness retreat website, integraltravel.com. It's INTEGRAL travel.com. There you'll see an education tab, and under education, you'll see a Qigong section. You can find the Intro to Qigong online course. And as a special for your listeners, a holiday gift to your listeners, I'd like to offer a $100 off coupon code from the normal price of $149. So you can get, it's essentially 66% off. And the coupon code is a lot of love, ALOTTALOVE. And maybe Alyssa, you can put it in the podcast notes so people can copy and paste it, make it easy.
Yeah, it'll be in the podcast notes, and 100%. That is such a generous offer to share with all of our listeners to help this season just get a little lighter for everybody.
It's a pleasure. And, the course was designed to fit into a busy lifestyle. The classes are no more than 30 minutes. In fact, as we go through the 5 courses, they start at 30 minutes and then kind of get shorter. And they're split between theory and practice, because I do think that a theoretical and intellectual understanding of the practices that we're doing helps deepen their effect and helps make the effects of those movements and practices that I'll teach you more profound. And then the practices themselves can be done in as little as 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. Once you learn them and kind of understand what you're doing, then it's a really simple. I mean, you could do it in the line at the grocery store, if you don't mind looking like a weirdo. But yeah, I mean, I like to do some of those movements while I'm waiting for the water to boil for my tea in the morning. Just use that first 5 minutes of the day to kind of wake things up and move some energy. So
yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And I also I do have a wellness coaching practice, and if anyone wants to learn about that, that's on my other website, integralwellness.center. So again, INTEGRAL.
Perfect. Yep. And we'll have both of those websites and all of Jessica's information in the show notes. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I could talk about this stuff all day long. As you could see, I just like wax philosophical.
Yes. Thank you again. That was a joy.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right. Until next time.
All right. Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Trimester Bubble. We so appreciate your support. If you know another mama or mama-to-be who could use the information in this episode, please share this link with them. And remember, thank you so much to Jessica again for sharing the discount code for her Intro to Qigong online course. You can find that at her website, integraltravel.com, and then click on the guide button and down to education and Qigong. Remember to use the coupon code a lot of love for $100 off her course. We also love hearing from you, and please send us a message letting us know if you have any thoughts or questions. I'm Dr. Alyssa with the Trimester Bubble, and we'll see you soon.